What's up everyone, it's another day of Geography Songs on TV Talks with Tom, and today I thought we'd head to my country, the UK guys. So with a little help from the Beatles, some legends of the UK, let's head to Penny Lane. In a house that's in the middle of Los Angeles, there's 10 house guests that are fighting for the crown. And while the viewers they have a frown, Memphis should sit down. Devon is very likely heading to the jury house, and Kevin's scuppered all his chances for the win. And while the viewers are in a spin, we should try and grin. Guys, we've got so much to talk about today, including who is likely heading out the door this week, as well as all of the latest game updates from the Big Brother 22 house, guys. So welcome to your live feed update. Welcome guys, I really hope you all enjoyed that parody. Of course it was a parody of Penny Lane by the Beatles, guys. And fun fact time, I actually walked past one of the Beatles, Paul McCartney, in a train station last year, guys. I was scrambling to get my phone out really quickly to get a picture. I couldn't believe myself. It was like, this is Paul McCartney, the richest musician in the world. I was totally flabbergasted, and obviously the Beatles are a fantastic band. And I was trying to get my picture out and everything like that. Checked the phone afterwards and it was the most blurry, horrific image ever, so I was gutted I couldn't get a good image of that. However, I saw some paparazzi images after, and the back of my head ended up in one of the paparazzi pictures, so I'll put it on the screen right now. God knows what that haircut was back then, guys, but there you go. That's a little fun fact of me walking past Paul McCartney in a train station. Devon and Danny were talking about some campaigning, and Devon told Danny that she is going to go speak to Denzel, referring to David, and 'tis the season, referring to Christmas, and Memphis Claus. She said those nicknames for them all, and she said she's going to go speak to them all today about campaigning. Obviously, we know it's pretty much it's a lost cause for Devon trying to campaign. She's pretty much screwed herself over and dug herself into a hole this week, unfortunately, and by sort of putting distrust into David. David was genuine with her, he was honest, and Devon's pretty much lost all trust in him, and now the house lost all trust in Devon. So in a reference to The Office, guys, well, how the turntables. Devon and Danny also discussed their distrust for Christmas, saying that she is playing the rat role. Essentially in the game they believe she's going backwards and forwards between every single corner, when in reality Danny's sort of doing that. I feel like Danny's played that sort of going with everyone, and Christmas is playing it to an extent, but Danny, I wouldn't even necessarily go as far to say Danny was playing the rat role, but Danny's definitely been in everyone's pocket more so than anyone in the house. And I think Kevin can often play that sort of style of game, but he doesn't do it in a very sort of elaborate way. He just goes to each corner of the house and whines when he doesn't have the power, to put it frankly, guys. But it doesn't seem Kevin's got much chance to even make it much further in the game now. He's pretty much sort of screwed himself over by basically sending out all of his allies out the door and not really helping them. He always does too little too late for them, and he doesn't really stick his neck out or his life on the line for them. I know it's Big Brother and you've got to save yourself, but sometimes you've got to make big moves, or you're going to find yourself in a situation where you're just going to get picked off at final 8 or 7. Enzo asked Kevin if he had talked to Christmas yet about her vote, but Kevin said no, not yet. But Memphis has reassured Kevin that he has Christmas's vote as well as his. Obviously, Memphis and Christmas are like that now. They are extremely tight and definitely a strong duo that people need to watch out for in the house. I've been saying it day in, day out now. When the committee officially crumbles and they need to start targeting each other, Danny's going to be on one side of the target, and Christmas and Memphis are going to be on the other side. And if we balance them out, obviously that's 2 versus 1. So people are a lot more threatened by Christmas and Memphis. And also, they are starting to turn into public enemy number 1 in the house, with Danny referring to them as Mr. and Mrs. Claus, and yeah, them just sort of doing their own thing, always being by themselves and plotting. And it seems as though they're, you know, imagine yourself in the house, and imagine Christmas and Memphis never really come up to you. They just sat over in the corner or sat in a certain room talking about games. You're going to obviously think they're scheming against you, so that's obviously going to turn you against them and make you lose trust in them. So they definitely need to watch their backs and definitely change up their social game if they want to survive a few more weeks when the committee crumbles. All week long, Devon and Kevin have been continually talking about the vote last week, thinking that Nicole Franzel didn't flip, all that sort of stuff, believing that David is the person who flipped on them, and obviously trust has totally gone out the window with David there, so Devon totally does not trust him. She went as far to say in a conversation with Kevin that David's word is trash to her, and she doesn't believe anything he says, as she believes that he has lied to her multiple times. And they sort of talked about a theory for a second. They just sat down and went, okay, right, let's just imagine for a second it was Nicole, and they started throwing some ideas around. Was Nicole the person who didn't vote to evict Ian? Obviously we know that's the truth, but they still don't believe it. They can't wrap their heads around it, and they continue believing that it was David. And even though they talked about it for a good few, I'd say maybe 20-30 minutes, something like that, they still sat down and said, no, it's not possible. David was the one who did it. We can trust Nicole. Speaking of this vote, Nicole has been saying all week as well she needs to find the right time to sit down and tell Davon the truth. And she had a conversation with Christmas and she sort of consoled in her and said, look, I'm finding it really hard lying to Davon. After all, this is Big Brother, guys. It's a game and you've got to lie, you've got to cheat. Well, not cheat it a bit far, but you've got to lie and backstab to get to the end. And that's exactly what Nicole's doing. She doesn't have to tell them tell Davon the truth, but she is just feeling a bit guilty about it. So Christmas said, Nicole, you can't say anything or the committee will officially crack for good. And Nicole said she knows that as well. Christmas suggested telling Davon in the goodbye message that she was the one who didn't vote with her, and Nicole sort of pretty much concluded on, even though, you know, all week long she's been saying I want to sit down with Davon and tell her, it seems as though Nicole wants to take the goodbye message route out. It seemed there could have been a moment of clarity in the day when Kevin and David were discussing the rogue vote that happened last week, and Kevin was saying that Davon fully trusts Nicole, and when David asked why, Kevin said Davon's reasoning was because she looked me in the eye, and David's reply was, I'm not going to repeat it, guys, because of family-friendly viewing, but I'll put it on the screen right now. This was David's reply. So yeah, I mean, it's just a broken trust totally with the three of them, and it seems as though Nicole's obviously put that wedge between them, and Davon's believing what Nicole's saying and not believing the truth of what David is saying. Thought we'd mention, guys, the BB neighbour twist. Obviously, we don't know that much about this yet. There's been a few sort of goings on or sayings that it was Zingbot in the veto comp, all that sort of stuff. But at the same time, people are still contemplating, saying it could genuinely be one of these Big Brother legends like Dr. Will or someone like that, guys. But I would like you guys to let me know who you would like it to be, who you think it is. I'd just like to hear some opinions on the BB neighbour twist. I've expressed it in another video, guys, which I'll put a card up in the corner for now if you'd like to check out. The BB neighbour sort of video I did on it, just sort of discussing everything that could go on with that, guys. So if you would like to check that out, I'd really appreciate it. But for me, I've got high hopes for a one and only legend of CBS Big Brother. It's Dr. Will Kirby, the winner of Big Brother 2. And I won't spoil, just in case you guys haven't seen his performance on All Stars 1, but it's definitely a season that you guys need to watch if you haven't already. As Big Brother fans, I would assume a lot of you have seen it already. But my hope is Dr. Will if it wasn't Zingbot. David confided in Kevin, telling him that on Sunday he was leaning towards keeping Davon, but that is no longer the case. He is definitely giving Kevin his vote to stay, and obviously we know that a lot of things have transpired over the past few days between Davon and David. Pretty much the trust is gone, it's disappeared, it's dissipated. Thanos has clicked out of humanity, for those of you guys who get that reference. But there we go, I mean, it's just gone, and Kevin and David are definitely just these lone rangers now in the house by themselves, stranded, and they're going to have a huge, gigantic uphill battle if they actually want to still get to the final two together and make it much further in the game. I will absolutely commend them like hell if they can do it, because it's a fantastic job if they can pull that off and to change the tides quite quickly. I saw someone commenting yesterday saying, you know, it doesn't matter if David or Kevin wins HOH, they can't do anything now. I'm sorry, but I've got to disagree with that. I think, you know, all it takes is a little chip, a little dent to blow something up, and the game can be flipped on its head. That's Big Brother, that's the motto, expect the unexpected. So even though the odds are totally against them, things can flip, and you know, stranger things have happened, guys. At the end of the day, Kevin and Davon pretty much reiterated everything they said earlier on, saying that they still do not trust David one bit, and they believe that David was the person who flipped with the vote last week. But Kevin said he can't say that, he can't express it to anyone but Davon, because of the simple fact, if him and David are the only people who are by themselves for the next couple of days or the next couple of weeks before they get picked off, they need to work together, they need to be able to function and not be going at each other's throats. But Davon said that she believes David basically betrayed them, and he tried to manipulate everyone with the power and manipulate everyone using the power with all sorts of jargon that basically we know isn't true. And yeah, it's just a real shame, guys. On a personal level, I believe it's a real shame to see that the trust has dissipated there, and it's going to be, as I say, extremely hard for them to make it much further now. And I could go as far to say they've screwed themselves over, but we live in hope, guys. That's what Big Brother's about, and that's why we keep tuning in every single week to see what can happen. And you never know, guys, things may just flip on its head. Expect the unexpected. That is all of your game updates for today, folks. I thoroughly hope you all enjoyed this video. Please let me know in the comments who you would like to see evicted this week, and who would you like to become the new HOH tomorrow night, guys. It's an exciting time always on Thursday night when we can see what happens. Sometimes it's sad with the eviction, but then a new hope comes with the new HOH, guys. But thank you so much for watching, everyone. I thoroughly appreciate you all massively. Thank you so much for the continued support, guys. Don't forget to like, share, comment and subscribe, and until your next live feed update, I've been your host, Tom Vasey. Good night.